Yes.
So you can start.
So good afternoon. Good afternoon, one and all present over here. I would like to welcome all of you on the behalf of the DR Patel School of Pharmacy. Today is our 11th webinar of this webinar series, and we are trying to cover diverse topics in the field of pharmacy. I would like to welcome our today's guest, Mr. Yashwant Kane sir. I would like to request the principal sir, Mr. Rakesh Somani sir, to welcome our today's guest. Sir, take over.
Yes. Thank you, Umesh sir. So, good afternoon, one and all present over on this platform today on behalf of D.Y. Patil University School of Pharmacy, Navi Mumbai. I welcome our today's speaker, my old acquaintance, Yashwant Kani, for delivering his talk on a very important topic, which is very contemporary also. I am also happy that large number of students are joining this webinar. This webinar is the 11th webinar in our summer webinar series, which is being organized by DY Patil University School of Pharmacy, Mumbai, for spreading the knowledge of the pharmacy across the length and breadth of the student communities. I am uh, I am expressing my gratitude to Dr. Snehalata Bhildi, who is the coordinator of this event, and I request Dr. Snehalata to please introduce our today's guest speaker to the audience. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Am I audible, sir? Umesh, sir? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sir, for addressing keynote for today's webinar. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Snehalata Burdu, Assistant Professor D.Y. Patil School of Pharmacy. I welcome you all for the webinar. We have our today's speaker, Mr. Yashwant Kane, a CRM scientist, GSK Consumer Healthcare, to give us a talk on pharmacovigilance, fundamentals and importance. Let me give his short biodata. Mr. Yashwant did his B.Pharm from Pravara Rural College of Pharmacy in the year 2006. He completed his M.Pharm from Bharati Vidyapit College of Pharmacy, Belapur. Mr. Yashwant worked as research associate in Rubicon Research Private Limited and as senior process associate in TCS. Currently, Mr. Yashwant is holding position of SCRM scientist at GSK Consumer Healthcare. Prior to GSK, Mr. Yashwant worked in Alchem Labs and Infosys Limited. So total Mr. Yashwant sir is having 11 years industry experience. It is great pleasure today to have you sir with us. Mr. Yashwant sir, over to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for that brief introduction, and I'm pleased to be here and interacting with the group. Before going ahead with the topic, actually, I would like to say that it should be interactive. It should not be a monologue. I'm not a speaker. I'm one of you, uh, my students, and I would like to interact with you rather than just giving a monologue. So we will have kind of an question and answer also in between. I'll just give times after I cover some slides so that you don't have to really hold up the questions till the end. And also, okay, before we go ahead, I would like to pose some questions to you. You can go on unmute for some time, and you can also use the chat box to give the answers. So here is the first question for you, if you have received. What is that new thing you have learned in the last 1 year? And everybody from the audience can type their responses over here, can go on mute and tell the answers. Okay, including all sirs, madams, everything, even me. Okay, here's my answer. No answers? Oh, basic knowledge about AI. Super. Anybody else? Okay. One. Okay, let me call out the people then for some time. Shivani. Oh, I like that answer. Anything is possible. Super. Guransh. Okay. Sir, I think you have to call out people so that they can uh, start typing. Okay.
Students, please post to answer.
Sorry. Okay, here's the second question for you. Which is the first place you would like to go if there is no restrictions and pandemic is completely over? Simple questions. I just want you to all come into this session. I know we are at very different places. We are just connecting virtually, and I want you all to get going with this session before we start with the topic. Otherwise, it will become a monologue. That's why all these questions. And nobody want to go out? Okay. A trip. Okay. I want a location. Industrial training. Okay. Studious students. Okay. Here is my answer. Okay. In Pune. Superb. I would like to go at my hometown. I haven't. I have been there, but currently the environment in rainy season is very nice over there to live. So, okay, I think people are loving pandemic. Is it so? At my native place. Okay, Shubhangi, thank you for your answer. And let me put my last question to you. What are the most important three things for our health while we are in this situation or we are in pandemic situation? You can type all the three together. Umesh sir, Snehata ma'am, I can see some people. Okay, immunity. Three things. You can give more two options. And I'll tell you what is the relevance of this with our today's topic. Okay, social distancing. Super. Use of mask. Super. Mask, social distancing, healthy food. Good, great. Enhancing the skill. Okay. Keeping ourselves engaged. Correct. Exercise, healthy food, rules and regulations about corona. Super. Okay. So more or less, we are going on a health side, and we are taking care of our health. Also, we are also seeing if we are doing anything. Is it engaging us? So we are taking care of ourselves. Do you think that the mental health is also important in this pandemic situation? Yes, no? Yes, right. So, you know, this is the this is one of the topic which is currently on toss, and everything will go very smoothly for all of us if we are in current if we are in well and good state of mind, right? So let me share my screen with you and start with the topic. Okay, so this is introduction to pharmacovigilance and fundamentals and importance. So currently, we will be seeing all these PPTs, but along with that, if you have any questions surrounding the topic, we will also cover it. Okay, let me ask someone. Can you see my screen and the PPT?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good, great. So uh, I'll cover the first slide, and then will tell you the relevance of my last question with this topic. Okay, so what do we mean by pharmacovigilance? So this pharmacovigilance is a Greek word wherein it can split into pharmakon and viligere. Okay, pharmakon, a medicine, viligere, to keep a watch on. So we are keeping watch on all the activities of the medicine. Pharmacovigilance is defined as the science and activities relating to detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention. Every word into this detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse event is very much important, because how we detect, how we assess, how we understand and prevent, we are going to see in the coming slides. Okay, so this definition by WHO is this. Okay, now coming to the pharmacovigilance system. So I'm going kind of an in a zigzag manner, so that I'll try to give you importance. And once you understand the importance, you will also understand why this is done, and how I'll also tell you how it can be done. So if you see the current evolving companies or the giants, okay, Microsoft, the Google, any take any uh, AI based companies, okay, there is a data in and there is a output, okay, or action. uh, Here also, for the pharmacovigilance world, there is a data in, and that is from patients, that is from doctors, from clinical trials, from the licensing partners, or from the regulatory, like we have DCGI, we have US FDA, we have EU. Okay, so all these are the incoming sources of the data. We do kind of and process, we process those data, we review that data, and there is output in terms of various reports being submitted to various agencies worldwide, as well as partners being subjected to audit also. And what is the output of it also comes out with some actions, and which will reach to the patients, or there may be some changes into the action, the drug is being used, the drug is being marketed, or even the uh, whatever content available for that drug on the leaflet, which is available for patient, for doctors, etc., etc. So I gave you example of the data in and data out. Okay, the AI companies also do that, and pharmaceutical company also do that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we feed all the data without any hindrance to all these companies. Okay, and it is all required. But whenever a doctor asks, okay, do you feel this needs to be reported, or if we experience something within India or the developing nations, if you want to report, generally we don't report. Okay, and that's the lacking part of it. Okay, when we don't have data, we don't have action. Okay, so pharmacovigilance systems actually gets feed into the data, and it converts it into action. And we talked about the data in, the database entry, data review, signal detection and generation. So all the data which is being put into the system, or in a specific format, okay, gets reviewed periodically, and output, okay, there are various reports needs to be submitted. Okay, you might have heard risk management reports, you might have heard periodic reports, you might have heard the expedited reporting. Okay, or you might have just experienced till now that there are reports or dossiers needs to be submitted to the health authority. These all reports actually goes sometime with the dossier, sometime as an expedited report to the health authorities, which help health authorities to take decision about the drug. Okay, should this drug be marketed? Should this drug remain on to the market? Should this drug, the label of that drug should be changed? Should the way of marketing should be changed? Should it be converted from RX to OTC? RX, the prescription drug, OTC, over the counter. So all these decisions are being taken based on some data, and one of the part from that data is the pharmacovigilance reports. Okay, so what we do from in the pharmacovigilance system is to collect, analyze, and communicate that information to the patient, to the health authorities, to the doctors, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so why actually should we do it? So here comes the importance part. First of all, we do these activities for patients. Okay, for pharmaceutical companies, patient is the primary focus. Okay, to contribute to the risk and benefit of the balance. Okay, whenever there is a chemical entity, okay, and we are consuming it, there are benefits as well as there are risks involved into it. Okay, uh, it's being said sometimes that if the drug do not have adverse effect, then probably that drug may not have effects also. Okay, so efficacy as well as safety has to be balanced. Okay, and that's why you see whenever you see the guidelines, who guidelines also, there are safety guidelines, there are efficacy guidelines. Okay, we need to adhere to it. Okay, another piece of it, whatever we are doing, we should not be, or whatever the pharmaceutical companies are doing, should not be keeping it to themselves. Then there is no use of that data, and that has to be communicated to through a proper channels to the customers, to the health authorities, and that's why we have to do analyze all that data, and to contribute to protection of patients and public health. Very much important in the pandemic, when we are at such an enlightened stage, I would say, about our health. We haven't been such enlightened or such aware about our health than whatever we are doing currently. So that's how the importance goes, and that's why we need to do the pharmacovigilance for every drug. Okay, why and when it was started? Okay, it all started with the thalidomide disaster around 1957 to 1968. It all happened, wherein the drug was marketed as an OTC, okay, for sedative, antiemetic, and also it was a prescription drug for influenza and nausea of the pregnancy. And what happened was it was licensed in so many countries, so EU, African, Asian, all countries. And post taking that drug, thalidomide, the pregnant woman were actually feeling so relieved. But once they delivered the baby, okay, there were almost 10,000 deformed newborns, okay, called as phocomelia. You might have already heard, being pharmacy students. And all were having the phocomelia or congenital issues. Okay, approximately 50% will still live in the current world's population. And it was also submitted to FDA during 1960. FDA also requested further trials on it, but seeing the phocomelia and all the congenital issues, it was withdrawn from the markets, many of the markets, and now the thalidomide is not at all marketed. So at that point of time, when this all was happening, the world started thinking about the pharmacovigilance, doing the safety as an reactive. Uh, but still, I would say till 2012, 2013, it was all reactive. Why all reactive? Because we used to submit the data, and then we actually, or the pharmaceutical companies were actually uh, uh, waiting to hear back from the health authorities. We were doing a retrospective analysis of the drug, and that uh, in the 2013 with the GVP modules, good vigilance practices. Okay, sorry, with the good vigilance practices, they all started or they all laid down the practices to be followed by industry, uh, and doing the pharmacovigilance on a proactive basis. So, if we compare the previous reports which were written during 1960s to 2010, 2013, you will see all the history of the product, but you will not see the benefit risk analysis. And the focus for the drugs went on the benefit risk analysis post this good vigilance practices came out. Okay, before going ahead, I would like to just ask if there are any questions from anyone. Okay, seems no one. Should I move ahead? Okay, let me share the PPT again. Okay, put it in the full screen mode and let's see the terminologies. Okay, what is the adverse event? It's an untoward medical occurrence due to the drug to a patient, and that is called as AE. Okay, what is serious adverse events? Okay, adverse event can be serious, can be non-serious, and serious adverse event is a serious adverse event, right? So that's the serious adverse event. And serious untoward medical occurrence in a patient or a subject post consumption of the medicine. Adverse drug reaction. If you see the definition now of adverse drug reaction, a response to the product that is noxious or unintended. Okay, so the it is due to product. Okay, whereas in the adverse event, it is not actually clearly said if it is due to the product or not. And that's the difference between adverse event and adverse drug reaction. The adverse drug reaction, you can say it is definitely due to the product. Serious adverse drug reaction. Okay, again, adverse drug reaction can be non-serious also. For example, I took a paracetamol for headache, but I am feeling a nauseous sensation. However, that nauseous sensation is not hindering my day-to-day activities. Okay, so that becomes a non-serious. But I'm continuously having vomiting, and I have to visit doctor or the emergency room after taking paracetamol for headache, then it becomes a serious adverse drug reaction. Moving on to next, SUSAR. Okay, suspected, unexpected, serious adverse reaction. Okay, suspected due to the product. Unexpected. Okay, you are not expecting it. Serious adverse reaction. Okay, it is happened post you take the drug. Okay, so the unexpected response due to the drug is called as suspected unexpected serious adverse reaction. And these terminologies have a very high importance into the pharmacovigilance area. Whenever you say that it is a SUSAR, okay, or suspected unexpected adverse drug reaction, the timelines changes, the reporting timelines to the health authority changes, even the reporting timelines to your licensing partner changes. Okay, one another terminology which we may be using frequently during the presentation is EU or EEA. So European Economic Area or European Union is the full form of it. Okay, so you might have seen this drug development process, and if I have to tell you where we perform the pharmacovigilance, it's from it starts with the phase one and it continues till the end of the life of the drug. So it is, if I have to put into another words, then we perform pharmacovigilance throughout the life cycle of the drug, right? So we start with the new chemical entity. We do the preclinical and animal studies. We do the Once these preclinical and animal trials are done, we do the phase 1, wherein we perform the clinical trial on a very small group of patients. In phase 2, we perform on a quite larger, where we determine the efficacy. First of all, we would like in the phase 1, we see the safety profile of the drug. Then we go ahead with the phase 2, wherein we have the efficacy as an focus. Uh, Also, safety is also being measured as one of the parameter. And in phase 3, it is being done on a larger group, based on its indication, based on the indication of the molecule, from 250 to 4,000 patients. And phase 4, sometimes what happens is, though we receive grant from the health authorities to market the drug, okay, they also put condition to study the drug further, as the data they feel, as the data which is carved out till phase 3 is not sufficient, or we haven't really fully understood the drug, then it has to be carried out in a phase 4. But the pharmaceutical companies also perform the pharmacovigilance throughout its life cycle, as I have already mentioned, and that is through spontaneous reporting, and wherein the reporting from the doctors, the reporting from the healthcare professionals, the reporting from pharmacists, the patients, okay, all come into picture, and that's a real time data which we see at the for the pharmacovigilance for the drug. Moving on to next, do we think? Okay, let me take a poll now. Okay, do you think that once we perform all the clinical trials, we have the whole data with us for the drug? Can you respond in a chat? Do you think that if you have performed a clinical trial, you know all sorts of data about safety and efficacy for that drug? Yes, no. I would like to see the response in the chat. Okay, yes. Anybody else? Okay, so let me give kind of a perspective. Whenever we do the clinical trials, okay, sometimes no, okay. Uh, whenever we do the clinical trials, what are the conditions we do in which we do the clinical trials is very important, right? So the indication, so the inclusion and exclusion criteria, how we select the patient population, which area from the globe we are selecting the population. Okay, if the condition is very prevalent in the Europe, but we are testing the drug on Indian population, will that help? Yes, no? No, no, no. Right, right, right. Thank you. Uh, so, whenever we do a clinical trial, we have kind of an inclusion and exclusion criteria, which is very much important while we do the clinical trial, because we are doing clinical trials wherein we don't know much about the drug, or we want to understand about the drug, and that's why we do the clinical trials. And here are some advantages and disadvantages. I'll come back to the query that I have raised. Post we see the advantages and disadvantages of the clinical trials. So it's a controlled environment. We have very strict inclusion and exclusion criteria. We here where when the clinical trial protocol are being set up, uh, they exclude the conditions which are very similar. They try to be very particular about the inclusion and exclusion criteria. To give an example, if the clinical trial is being performed on a diabetic patient, they try to exclude the patients with myocardial infarction. They ask for the history for that. Okay, so such things makes it very strict, and we only study the conditions based on the indication of the product. for which the drug is being will be used. Okay, we have known denominators. What do we mean by that? Okay, we have particular set of patients being enrolled, so we always know how many patients have taken the drug, right? And this is a large difference when it comes to clinical trial data and the post marketing data for pharmacovigilance. Data collected is in a very typical format. You have every field mentioned over there. You have a detailed history, and the investigators, the doctors, the health authority, and companies can analyze it to the depth. Whereas it may not be possible. This or the same thing is not may not be possible when we go into the spontaneous phase 4 phase of the pharmacovigilance. Follow-up information is normally available. Say, suppose, what's the importance of pharmacovigilance? First of all, whenever we have something in front of us, okay, we want to know more about it, and that's the curiosity, and that's the knowing and going to the depth and giving the root cause analysis of that evidence or of that event. And that's very much importance when we say that this adverse event or this side effect basically is due to the product or not. And that's why this follow-up information, whenever we have query, there is a element of doubt, we can ask and we can collect the data from there. And one more thing, the data collected from the clinical trial is all given by investigators, by doctors, well-trained health professionals. May not be possible. This may not be possible in the setup of spontaneous reporting. Okay. So what are the demerits of it? Okay. Or limits of it? It's a very small sample size as compared to the population in the world. Okay. For that indication also, we choose a very small sample size in any of the phase 1 to 3 clinical trials, right? It's a very restricted population. Again, we have very strict inclusion and exclusion criteria, which makes it very restricted. Narrow indications. Okay, whenever you give title or whenever you even read titles of the research articles, it's very specific. Okay, type 2 diabetes mellitus, hypertension. Okay, hypertension due to lifestyle changes. Okay, very typically described indications which for which we need to study the drug. Okay, and it is being performed very short duration. Okay, there are very less permutations and permutations and combinations to which the drug is exposed, and that's why the data itself is very restricted, is very limited, and we may not know the whole thing about the drug. Okay, and that's why my question was, do we really know what all our drug can perform to a body, what all our drug can do to our body? We have been, okay, to give an example. Okay, paracetamol is a very generally used product. Even it is currently available over the counter. Okay, we don't have to have a prescription to take a paracetamol. Recently we have encountered, I think this was 6 months before, wherein after taking a paracetamol, TEN, toxic epidermal necrosis. What happens in toxic epidermal necrosis is you lose first layer of the skin. It's a scaling which happened throughout your body, and it's very painful condition. Even it has to be very carefully handled by the doctors. Was also reported for the paracetamol, and AGEP was also reported for the paracetamol, and it was being said that it's a type of hypersensitivity. But when we analyze the whole cases, we found that the TEN and AGEP has to be told or to be given to the label, in the label separately, because it's not at all a hypersensitivity response to the paracetamol, but it's altogether a different condition. So dimensions of the data, dimensions whatever put into the label, can be changed even after the clinical trials are over, even after the data has been collected for the drug throughout its life cycle. Moving on to next, we do perform the pharmacovigilance in the post-marketing phase also. And what are the positive or the limitations of it? Okay, it's lots of data, so rare AE will be present. Okay, the drug when it is marketed subjects to various permutations and combinations of the patient conditions, right? Patient can be there may be exclusion criteria in the clinical trial for the hypertension patients, but here when it gets marketed, the hypertensive patients may also take this product, and they may also get some adverse events. So it's subjected to various permutations and combinations, and that's why we receive or the dimensions of the data which we receive are very much large than whatever we receive in the clinical trial. Long-term effects should be detected. Okay, clinical trial, okay, very short duration, 1 year, 2 year, but here the patient take the drug according to the indication for a very long time, and that's why the long-term side effects are detected. That's what happened in thalidomide, right? Even the patients or the pregnant women were getting relieved from the nauseatic sensation. It was detected that the babies being delivered are having phocomelia, and that's why long-term effects are detected by doing the post-marketing pharmacovigilance. Wide range of concomitant medications. Okay, various other conditions also get involved. Okay, uh, there is one adverse event, I would say tinnitus, by taking the diclofenac. It's a very rare kind of scenario, but due to the wide range of medications being used, it occurs to very few patients, and that kind of adverse events can be detected. So drug interaction, the drug interacting with the other drug, okay, can also be detected uh, in the post marketing pharmacovigilance. Should include all types of patients, almost all, because the patient population itself is very wide. Actual fatalities will be recorded and included. So, as it is subjected to a very large number of indications, very large number of conditions, not indications, my mistake, conditions, uh, the actual fatalities due to the drug can be detected, recorded by doing the post-marketing pharmacovigilance. What are the limitations? Reports are being received from wide range of sources. Can be articles, can be healthcare professional, can be patients, and data is often incomplete. Whenever we report, okay, we are in hurry. Okay, we took this drug, and this has happened to me. Okay, even if we report it to doctor or tell it to doctor, we are in the same mode. Okay, I took this drug, and this is what happened. Okay, we don't take history seriously, or we don't describe the history also, and that's make the data very incomplete. Potential duplication. I may be reporting to DCGI, okay, for the drug which I have taken, okay, diclofenac, and my physician may also report through his channels to the company, and the report is duplicated at the end with the health authority. No denominator of the data. We don't know how many patients have actually taken the drug, and that's why this becomes very incomplete data. But still, to know the real life situation, the post marketing pharmacovigilance is immensely important, and will also help to the benefit risk balance of the drug. Okay, let me ask question. Okay, let me know if there is any question from anyone. Okay, no? Should I move ahead? Yes, no? This audience is too quiet. Thank you. Thank you for your responses. Okay, let me move ahead then. Why should we perform both? Okay, pre-market and post-market. So, first of all, as we are doing clinical trial, we should be protecting the trial participant, and that's why we should be doing the pharmacovigilance. Clean and reproducible data. Okay, even if you take one set of patients or one clinical trial setup, and you get some observations, and if you run the same type of setup at the other place, okay, or if you run it differently, then you should be getting the same data, and it should be a reproducible one. Okay, feed into risk benefit analysis before the launch, and we know basically the major risks, the major signals, or the efficacy areas of the drug before we launch to the market, and that's why we should be doing the pre-market safety reporting. Post-market, because we have to continue analyzing the risk benefit ratio for the drug. We can see if label needs to be changed, because if we are feeding incorrect data on the label, or if there is change required but we are ignoring, it may result in any type of risk to the patient, to the doctors, etc., etc. Whenever we have the large communications about the drug, we can also send out the dear doctor letters. Have you heard of any dear doctor letter? Yes, no? No? Right. So if there is a drug and we want to communicate any change in the label, or if you want to say any change in the use of the drug, okay, the companies send out dear doctor letters to all the professionals, all the doctors, and that's called as dear doctor letters, wherein it needs to be approved by the uh, may I know if the screen is visible? I'm getting a notification. Sorry, ma'am.
No, sir.
Am I not presenting?
No, sir, screen is not visible actually.
Screen is not visible. You could have
Uh,
interrupted me. Okay, just a moment. Okay, let me know if my screen is visible, sir.
No, it is visible.
Yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Now it
So
is
now it
visible.
is visible.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, sir, you can interrupt me anytime if my screen is not visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And finally, in the post-marketing phase, we can also there are communications flowing out to the health authorities in the form of risk management plans, in the form of PSURs, PBRs, REMS. Okay, so the the clinical phase pharmacovigilance, as well as the post-marketing monitoring of the safety for the drug, is immensely important, and both of them are really required whenever we think of the life cycle of the drug. Okay, here are some of the examples of adverse events, or rather the conditions of the adverse events. Change in the baseline health. You take a drug, but you're not feeling the same thing post taking the drug. That's a change in the baseline health. Say, suppose I have taken paracetamol, common example, paracetamol for headache, but still my headache is not relieved. Okay, so that's a change in the baseline health post taking the paracetamol. Say, suppose I have taken the paracetamol, but my headache is going worse. change in the baseline health. Okay, worsening of the symptoms treated is also okay. I have taken the drug, but the condition is worsened. Okay, I have taken the drug or cetirizine for the allergy, but it's not relieved. Okay, it's going worse. Change in the concomitant illness. Okay, I have taken the drug, but I had nausea, and the nauseatic sensation is increasing. Okay, change in the concomitant illness. Event related to concomitant medication could be okay. I have taken, say, suppose cetirizine and paracetamol together, and I'm feeling sleepy. I'm reporting that my headache is getting worsened, but at the same time I'm also feeling sleepy, and that's why event is related to cetirizine but not to the paracetamol. Okay, that's a event related to concomitant medications. Okay, if you remember that pharmacovigilance data system I have shown you on the second slide, there is a data in and there is data out. In between, there is a assessing of the drug or entering of the adverse data into the system and assessing it. Okay, there are parameters based on to which we assess the adverse events or adverse drug reactions, and those are seriousness, causality, and expectedness. Okay, what is seriousness? Whether the product is serious or not. So to term the event as an serious, there are criteria. Causality, there are scales, causality scales laid down by who? They are laid down by Naranjo. Okay, there are various scales of causality. Expectedness, is it due to the product or not? Okay, determining that field is called as expectedness. Okay, moving on to the seriousness criteria. What are the seriousness criteria? Death, life-threatening, if the patient requires the hospitalization, or if it results in persistent or significant incapacity, congenital anomaly, and medically significant. Okay, you might be knowing, or it's very straightforward, basically resulting into the death. Okay, say suppose life threatening. I have taken diclofenac and I'm getting blood vomitings, and I hospitalized in the ICU. Okay, it's a life threatening. uh, I have taken the cetirizine and I'm having rashes all over my body, and my doctor asked me to get hospitalized and get treated for the condition, and that is requires hospitalization. Persistent or significant incapacity. I have taken a diclofenac and I can't hear now. Okay, that is persistent or significant incapacity. I have taken a glucagon injection, and post that my vision is very restricted, persistent or significant incapacity. Congenital anomaly, as we have seen the thalidomide, anything happened to the baby at the time of birth, and the drug is administered to the mother, then it is called as congenital anomaly. If there are adverse events which doesn't turn out to be any of the above five, but it's still you still feel it is a serious, can be termed as medically significant. Okay, I'm sorry, medically it is written as medically insignificant. It should be medically significant. Intensity or severity. The adverse event can be termed as mild, moderate, or severe condition based on its severity. Okay, assessing the areas, rate each term of the seriousness and severity. Okay, can you tell me, patient feels nauseous but can go with the normal activities. Should it be serious or non-serious? Answers are in front of you. You can just go unmute and express yourself. Okay. No. Right. So it's not serious. Okay. Should it be severe? Good, good, good. should it be severe? Okay, how the severity should be measured? Mild, moderate, severe? Mild, great. Okay, so that's how we have to see. Okay, I'm sorry if I have. I'm just toggling the screen. Just a moment. Okay. Okay. So patient going back to the slide and for the second query, patient falls unconscious. They have a very low pulse and blood pressure need, and the patient needs the emergency medical care. So should it be serious? Yes, definitely, because the patient requires the hospitalization, and the severity is the severe intensity because the patient fell unconscious, right? So that's how we assess the AEs or ADRs. Okay. Now there is another parameter from seriousness and causality. Okay, there is the another parameter called as causality, and how we define the causality. Okay, definitely related, probably related, possibly related, unlikely to be related, definitely not related. So it's very expressive in its word itself. So definitely related, it is due to the product. Okay, there is no question that there is another factor involved into it. Probably related, likely to be related to the drug exposure, but there could be another factors also. We are not 100% sure. Possibly related. Okay, there are two products involved or being consumed by the patient, and there is adverse event, but we are not able to segregate if it is due to product A or product B. Okay, so we say that it is possibly related to the both of the product. Unlikely to be related. Okay, there are two products involved, but for the product A, it's not the nature or the pharmacological action of the product which can cause the adverse event. For example, I took paracetamol and diclofenac, and I had a bleeding event through my vomit. Okay, so vomit can be possible by paracetamol, but not the bleeding. Okay, it's the nature of the or diclofenac always have kind of a bleeding events. Okay, than the paracetamol. It's not unlikely to be related to the paracetamol. Definitely not related. There is not at all a question that the drug is related to the event. For example, okay, I took a paracetamol, and while walking on road, I fell down. I had an accident. Okay, not at all related. So that's how the causality needs to be assessed. So assessing is expectedness. Okay, whether it is expectedness or unexpectedness, and how we define this expectedness and unexpectedness is based on whatever data we have previously with us or with the pharmaceutical company or with the investigator in terms of in case of clinical trials. So expected means there is a documentation that adverse event is already present onto the label of the product. Okay, or the adverse event is already present in the investigational brochure IB uh, in case of clinical trials. Okay, unexpected, it is not present. Okay, so that's how these three parameters, seriousness, causality, and expectedness, are being assessed. Okay, okay, assessing is efficacy. Okay, expedited reporting is required. What do we mean by expedited reporting? Expedited reporting is reporting within a very short period of time, 7 days in terms in case of clinical trials, or 15 days in case of the spontaneous reporting. So how it is done? Expedited reporting is possible for or is required basically in case of life-threatening diseases, serious diseases, or serious adverse events, vaccines, and even in case of contraceptions. Okay, coming to this ADR reporting. So before moving ahead, I would like to call out questions in case there are any. Okay, I'll give you a minute. Okay, so if there are no questions, I'll just move ahead with the expedited reporting. So pre-market in the sense the expedited or ADR reporting is reported in the clinical trial setup, and post-market, that is spontaneous when the drug is marketed. Okay, so pre-market expedited reporting. So um, when we assess it, basically we ask certain questions. Okay, whether the adverse event happened before taking a drug or after taking the. Okay, so uh, if it is before the taking of the drug, then there is no action required. If the adverse event happened post taking the medicine, then yes, it needs to it needs to be subjected to the the expedited reporting. Okay, so whether it is serious, yes or no. If it is serious, then was it expected, yes or no. Then if it is needs to be reported to sponsor, then also report to HA if it is expected as well as serious. And if it is not a serious, and even if it is expected, then there is no requirement of the expedited reporting. So that's how the flow or the pre-market expedited reporting is also done. When we say that it caused by drug, okay, then we need to give kind of an perspective whether this it is caused by drug, yes or no. Then whether it is potentially or life threatening, yes. And if it is a life threatening, then in how many days it needs to be reported. Generally it is 7 days, and if it is not, then it should go in the 15 days. So that's how the timelines differ according to authority. Also, the timeline also differs according to the condition of the case. I mean, whether it's serious, expected, as well as life-threatening, etc., etc. Post-marketed expedited reporting. So this is reporting timelines in EU. There could be a bit change in the reporting of the other health authorities. I know that there is a change in the Indian Health Authority timelines. But reporting in EU in case of post-marketing or marketing phase of the drug is 15 days. Okay, whether it's serious or non-serious. Non-serious generally needs to be reported in 90 days, and the post-marketing serious areas and post-marketing serious areas that occur outside of the EU also needs to be reported to EU, European Union, in 15 days. And reporting in the US, 15 days alert report goes for the post-marketing expedited reporting. Clear till now? Any question on timelines? Generally, this is the interview question always. Any question? No? What is done if post market AE? Okay, so whenever there is a post marketing AE and we receive report, first of all, subject to the pharmacovigilance system, wherein we do the data entry, we put it into the specific format called as COMS. That is a well-known format laid down by the COMS community. And then it is based on the criteria. Say suppose it's a serious, then it needs to be submitted to the health authorities within 15 days. And if it is a non-serious, then it goes as a report for all the non-serious cases for that product as a periodic report. Clear? Any question? If not, then I'll just move ahead. Okay. Expedited reporting. Other than reaction, sponsor or MAH may report a clinically important increase in the expected AE incidence, major safety findings from the animal studies or carcinogenicity, and significant hazard to a patient population. Sometimes there is a clinically important A which where the frequency changes. For example, uh, say suppose in clinical trials there were 100 patients, and out of which after taking a drug almost 60 patients have seen the nauseatic sensation or hand and foot syndrome, okay, for example. uh, but whenever it comes to the post marketing, okay, and there is increase in the AE incidence, wherein out of the 100 patients now, the 90 to 95 patients are experiencing the hand and foot syndrome. So for such a change, this is a large change actually in the frequency of the adverse event being observed, and that is called as that can also be reported to the MAH or sponsor or the licensing partner as well. Sometimes there are research being done on the animals even after the marketing of the drug for some specific indication. For example, rivaroxaban is a drug. I have, or the pharmaceutical company have studied it for the blood as an blood thinning agent, but now they want to test it for the pulmonary embolism, and for that they have it's altogether a new indication, and that's why they have to do every phase separately. And in case they observe something for that drug, they can also report for the earlier indication, that is blood thinning. So such scenarios may also arise, and we also have to do the expedited reporting in such cases. Okay, what is the minimum criteria? So there are this is a very basic thing, and every report, every valid report is judged based on these four parameters, wherein the adverse event report should have an identifiable patient, a report source, a product, and event. Okay, so identifiable patient, at least age or anything, I mean age, gender, or the initial should be reported. Report source, whether it is mm, a reporter, I mean whether it's doctor, whether it's literature case, whether it's coming from the licensing partner, whether it's coming from health authority, that report source should be clear. Suspected medical product, okay, so whether this product is my company's product is a question, and if it is not, then there is a communication flowing out to the concerned other company that we have received such and such adverse event for your such and such product. And event, okay, there should be a definite event which is reported in that case, like headache, nausea, vomiting, bleeding, etc., etc. So these are the four basic parameters needs or makes the case valid. Okay. So how the expedited reporting is being performed, or what all are the forms basically? So EU in Europe, it is the electronic reporting of the pre and post market. Okay, they do vigilance also. They EU monitors the literatures by themselves. They screen all the worldwide available literature and post it or send it to the the MH, the marketing authorization holders or the pharmaceutical companies, so that they can store and analyze their product according to the literatures. US, we have a FERS system, that is FDA Adverse Drug Event Reporting System. The form 3500H or MedWatch form is being set up by the FDA, and which is also available on their website as well as with the doctors in US, so that they can report anything they are coming across in terms of adverse event to the FDA, US FDA. And they also have this electronic post-marketing reporting, through which the pharmaceutical company sends out their expedited reports to the FDA. Uh, a other format is also a COMS format, wherein companies can report to the health authorities. We in India, we have DCGI who have a reporting line as well as email IDs sent out, as well as toll-free numbers, and it's very easy to report any adverse event even to DCGI. Okay. So now we are done with the case processing, or we are done with the case whatever data we need to analyze and how to report, and we will be moving ahead with the aggregate reporting. So before we move ahead, I would like to call out in case there are any questions. No? Should I move ahead? Okay, thank you. So, aggregate reporting, there could be a pre-market aggregate report as well as post-marketing aggregate report. The pre-marketing aggregate reports are the DSUR, which is submitted to EU annually per year, and that can also be used in US to submit annual report DSURs. The IND annual report is asked by US, and in case we are not writing DSUR, we need to submit the IND annual report to US FDA. Post-marketing aggregate reports are PSURs or PBRs. Okay, what is PSUR? Periodic Safety Update Report, which was also there in EU, and they have revised it to PBR, which is called as Periodic Benefit Risk Evaluation Report, and that can be used worldwide. What is the difference between PSUR and PBR? Okay, the old format of PSUR is just saying or what had happened or what had been reported for the for the drug over the period of time. Say suppose they have frequency of 4 yearly PSUR, then PSUR will lay out what has been reported, what was the exposure to the product, and what is the conclusion. Whereas the PBR will give kind of a detailed analysis of the whatever data has been reported. It will also say the safety and efficacy part, and it will also give the integrated benefit risk evaluation, okay, based on whatever has been reported. And that's why it is very widely accepted format given by EU to the world. There could be Pbr, which is specific to EU. They generally ask it for quarterly reporting, and whatever has been reported quarterly, it has to be given in the form of Pbr. Pbr is actually a layout or a report which says what had been reported for the drug over the period of 3 years, and that's why it subjects to analysis by the US FDA. Okay, so coming to the pandemic area now, PV during COVID-19. So every company, every health authority have business continuity plan, and the critical pharmacovigilance processes and business continuity actually never stops. So there is a legislative requirements put on by health authorities. One of them is GVP Module 1 on pharmacovigilance system, that is led by EU. And there is also pre-preparedness BCP, which is an ongoing concept to be followed by every company. Okay, PV during COVID-19, adaptation of the PV practices by agencies and industry. Many of the adverse events reporting was happening through physical form, but now the industry as well as the health authorities needs to adapt, and they are already in process of adapting the electronic submissions so that the monitoring of drug never stops. Many of the guidelines, as you see the screenshots down the PPT, are led by health authorities, and companies or pharmaceutical industry needs to follow those while reporting the health authorities about the drug. and consideration to resourcing and PB reporting in COVID-19 in trials. Trials is kind of an sensitive issue and sensitive reporting when it comes during the COVID-19, and that's why there are separate guidelines which are put in place by US FDA and EU for reporting those data into during the COVID-19 to the US FDA or EU or respective health authorities. So that's all I had. In case you have any questions, suggestion, comments, the forum is open for you.
You can put your questions in chat box. You can ask students and all the participants. Please. Is there any questions? Please.
Any questions, students? No questions.
No questions? Okay, sir. No questions from students.
Okay, let me ask one question then.
Sir. Sir, one questions came from.
One student answer.
Okay, what is the growth of PV industry in next 5 years? Okay, to give a perspective to it, it's widely accepted concept now to perform the pharmacovigilance by all type of pharmaceutical industry. When I say all type of pharmaceutical industry, it includes the generic industry. The pharmaceutical industries producing generic drugs, as well as the pharmaceutical companies who are working on innovators, most probably multinational organizations. And there are, if I have to give a perspective, there are two widely regulated industry. First is airline, and second is the pharmaceutical. Why? Because it directly plays to the life, and that's why it's immensely important in the next 5 years also that the growth will always be there in the industry, subjected to all the changes currently being happening due to AI and the new model of workings. Okay, this is my question to all of you. You can give just numbers. I mean, how many are the valid criteria? 1, 2, 3, 4. Should I give the answer? Okay, those are the 4 valid criteria. The patient, yes, thanks, Jyoti. So 4 valid criteria: patient, a reporter, the medicine, and the adverse event.
Okay, sir. Sir, we will be here. Okay. So no more questions now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for interesting
Thank you,
and
sir.
enlightening presentation, sir.
Thanks, sir. So I would like to thank today's speaker, Mr. Yashwant Kane, sir, for sharing your knowledge with all of us. Sir, I would like to thank our principal, sir, for allowing us to organize such events. I would like to thank Snehata Bodu madam for coordinating today's event. I would like, last but not least, I would like to thank all the participants present over here, because without them, it is not possible to coordinate such events or arrange such events. Thank you all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
I would like to add one point.
Yes, yes.
I would like to thank Dr. Snehal Dumbre, Associate Professor, Malareddy College of Pharmacy. Sincere thanks to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, and it was nice interacting with all of you. Hope we'll also get another chance to interact again. Thank
So
you.
definitely, sir. Definitely.
Thank
So
you, sir.
every year we are arranging the seminars, and next year I will definitely go. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
Sadakat sir, are you there? Sadakat
Yes, sir.
sir, please stop the